Hello folks, I'm Sam from Biography, and today we're going to talk about B-Raw on the Lumix S5 IIX and how good it actually is. Now I have imported already 4 clips in DaVinci Resolve, and we are going to go through them, color grade them lightly, and see how good they actually is. There are a couple of things that I don't really like, that they haven't really improved from the S5 and the S5 Mark II, the S1H, which I think it's a bummer, but it is what it is. So let's get straight into DaVinci Resolve. So I use a little bit different, not the standard color management. So this is what I use. I use in the input color space, well, in the color science, I use DaVinci Resolve, YRGB color management. Then I have custom in the color processing mode. In the input color space, I use Rec 709. Then timeline color space, I use DaVinci, YRGB, intermediate. Then in the output, I use Rec 709 Gamma 2.4, that is the standard gamma that is used for broadcasting. So kind of all the TVs we use this standard, I mean for the output color space. The rest of them, if you want me to explain a little bit in depth, leave me a comment down below and I will explain. But this is what I use for my color grading. And it's a little bit faster for me because now what I need to do is that I just need to highlight all of them and apply the LUT that I want to use. In this case, I'm shooting on a Lumix, so Panasonic, so I would just apply the Panasonic LUT that they deliver, and that's it. So when I go back to my timeline, I have not anymore, not the flat, but I have the already converted to Rec 709. If you have using a camera that bakes in already the metadata from what kind of LUT are you using or the kind of camera are you using, when you use this type of color space transform, it usually recognizes it directly. But in this moment, DSLRs or mirrorless cameras don't usually bake in metadata with what kind of color space you're using, so you will need to do this extra step, but it doesn't matter. Let's go to color grade it. So when we go in the camera raw page here, there is already what I didn't like at all, which it means when I select clip, it's cool. It opens me the color space, the gamma and everything. But one different thing that we have is we have highlight recovery, which is amazing that we finally get it, because in the S1H and the S5, you don't get the highlight recovery, and the gamut compression, I believe you don't get it either. But here you get it, and it will be really, really, really good. I will show it later on. So click it. In this specific clip, you don't really need it. But it's okay to get it. But what you see here is that the ISO, it's not controllable. Like, we cannot control our ISO, which is a bummer. I thought that they actually implemented this with Blackmagic, but unfortunately they haven't, and it's a little bit disappointing. So it is what it is. But let's get straight into the color grading part. So how I usually start is with fuzz color. So I have my fuzz color. I can double check my exposure, even though I have already done it in camera. It's always good to double check it. So I double check it. The main things that I wanted to be in focus are in focus. So that's good. Everything looks to be in a good spot. So I'll just disable it. So one thing that we need to go and do is kind of bring a little bit of contrast in the scene, right? So what I usually do here is I bring the blacks down a little bit until they touch the 0, and I bring my highlights a little bit until I kind of like it. And like this, I like it. There is already a little bit more of contrast, and if we want to, we can add a little bit more of contrast, and it looks pretty good, right? So it's pretty damn good. You actually don't really need to do nothing to it. So this is the 640 of ISO, and it looks pretty damn good. Let's pass to the 4000 ISO. You can read it here. The 4000 of ISO, of course, I checked. So I kind of check every time I do things. So I just like balanced it so that it's right in the middle of the waveforms. And we change here to clip again, and unfortunately we cannot change ISO. We can click the highlight recovery, even though this is already like well exposed, so there isn't really much to do. So we will do more or less the same process as earlier. We bring our shadows a little bit down, or our dark side of the image a bit down, and we can bring a little bit our highlights up, and no noise, beautiful, amazing exposure, amazing exposed. It's exposed pretty properly, so there isn't really much that it needs to be done here. We can add a little bit of contrast if we want, a little bit of saturation if you feel like it. And here you have your beautiful image popping. So let's go to a little bit interesting part to test out our highlights. As we can see here, this image is totally blown out. It's at 12,800. I did it on purpose because I wanted to push and see how this highlight recovery actually works. So let's go and see. So we will transform this into the clip. So not having the ISO active, what we can do is control all of this through the exposure here. So when we bring everything down to a perfect kind of exposure, so let's say in the middle of the line here, with highlight recovery, you can see that the sky it's well recovered, except this, like, I don't know exactly what it is, but there is some purple thing in the sky, but we will manage to fix it. Let me disable highlight recovery. You see, the sky is gone. You lose totally the sky. Without highlight recovery, you totally lose the sky. But when you apply highlight recovery, you have recovered the entire sky, which is amazing. And to see it even more properly is, let's do the same process as we did earlier here. So we bring down our blacks, and if we want, we can bring down a little bit of our sky. We can block the middle here, because even why I did that is because I don't want this change to affect, you know, my blacks. So by doing that, as you see, I don't affect the trees at all or the dark parts of the image, but I'm affecting only the highlights of the image. This is how I do it. I'm not a professional, but this is how I found that it's easy for me to do it. So if there is an easier way, please explain it to me. But as you see, everything looks good. The highlights, it looks pretty good. Nothing looks overexposed. So let's try to eliminate that purple part of the image. So we will go in our qualifier here. We will select this purple part, and let's see how we can isolate that from the rest of the image. so it's only the purple part that we're looking for, so we will really try to have only purple and none of the blue or weird stuff. Then we blur it a little bit. Okay, and let's go straight to our primaries, use our offset. Let's try to turn that purple in a kind of a bluish sky. It's not perfect, of course, because you can spend more time into it, but already you can see that the purple is way less of purple, so it's good. You can save those part where there is some kind of, I don't know exactly what it is, but hey, we have fixed that part. So B-Raw. So how good you think B-Raw is? Leave a comment down below, let me know. But for me, it's just amazing. It works so good that I will be using it in probably bigger projects like weddings or project where I know that it's going to be difficult for me to have control of the scene, of the light of the scene, so that in post I can have control of all of that. I filmed inside an SSD, 1 terabyte. You can use all the SSD you want with the video assist, so it can save you a lot of time in post because you can edit directly from it and you have a lot of storage going on. So this is what I think. I think that the B-Raw is amazing to have it in such a camera because it's amazing, this camera. Then there is only Fuji out there that has it internally in the camera, and I hope so that Lumix will implement the internal recording even through SSD, because we don't have any CFast Express, or we don't have any other way of recording internally because we don't have enough fast SDs to record RAW. So if they give us the permission or the way to record it through SSD internally from the camera, that would be even awesome. But at the moment, you need a video assist for it, and it works amazingly, as you saw. There is anything that you would like to see, there is anything that you would like to know, please let me know. And thank you for sticking here and hearing me blabbering. And thank you for supporting me always. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Take good care of yourself.